Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, everything old is new again, or something along those lines. So what the heck does that even mean? Everything old is new again. Well, folks, I've got some older equipment here, as you all well know. One of those older pieces of enterprise level equipment that I have is an IBM X3650 Model 3 server. Now, I'm a Dell guy, I prefer Dells, but I have this IBM sitting around and it's really not doing much of anything, and I haven't really done anything with it since I did the multiple video cards using VMware. And that was fun, but I would like to, put a newer modern operating system on there and see how well it performs with this, 12-year-old, 10-year-old equipment. Now, I was hoping I would be able to run VMware on here, but it's not going to happen. Yeah, VMware 7 is never going to run on equipment this old. The CPUs aren't supported. A lot of the hardware in here is not supported anymore. I could run Windows Server 2019 on here and it would run just fine. And that would be my preferred way of doing things, but I like to live on the edge. So I thought this unit would be a perfect candidate for Windows Server 2022. So I downloaded Windows Server 2022 from the Microsoft website, the evaluation version. And we're going to try and install it today on this IBM X3650 Model 3. So let's get that started right now. And there we go. Go to Tools, go to Session Options, go to Mouse, Relative, Apply, OK. And then we should be able to come right here, Start. It's been a while since I've used the IBM, and one thing I hate about the IBM is the RAID adapter on it. I'm just not fond of it. The GUI in the BIOS I'm not fond of. It's hard to understand how to make it work, but I think there is a GUI that you can run for the controller once you get Windows loaded, and we'll worry about setting up RAID devices later. Right now what I want to do is just try to get the install to run. See if we can install onto that 300 gig hard drive that's in there. Spinning Rust, because I'm not going to spend the one benefit of this IBM is it has 16-bit PCI Express lanes as opposed to 8-bit. Well, as two of them. But it's not real. This obsession I have with video cards and passing them through to virtual machines, I really don't have that desire anymore. So, alright, so we're going to try CD, DVD, ROM, and there it goes. Now it's booting. Or it's trying to. I don't need this obsession to linger anymore with putting video cards into these units. I mean, let's put it this way. If I put a video card into this unit, then it makes perfect sense to run Windows as my operating system, because at least part of Windows could have access to that video card. And on the virtual machines, I don't care if they have access to the video card, because I don't need them to use the video card for anything. Right now, this is a bare installation. I don't have any video cards in that IBM. I have a 300 gig SAS drive in there, and I've got 4 or 5 146 gig SAS drives in there that I'll play around with later for an array. But today the goal is just to get Windows Server 2022 loaded, because it's ironic I can't install VMware 7 on these units. It'll be interesting to see if I can install Windows Server onto it. or what kind of trouble I'm going to have. I know it'll run Windows Server 2019. Alright, so far so good. I need to fix the mouse. Make it absolute. There we go. And we'll do next. Install now. And then we'll get to see if it's actually going to see the hard drive without drivers. Hopefully out of the box Windows Server 2022 supports Windows Server 22 desktop experience, because I like the GUI. I want the GUI. And if it won't install, drum roll, custom, yeah, see, it needs a storage driver. So I put a different RAID controller in there, well, SAS controller, SATA controller. So I'm going to try that. Hopefully it won't explode. And I don't know how it's going to come up on drive configuration. And I don't know how IBM is going to treat that card, whether it's a foreign invader or... Alright, so let's see if we're having any luck at all. Okay, Windows Server 2022. Oh my goodness. It sees the drives. Or it sees some drives. Wow. So it's seeing that as drive 1. So, and it's seeing 4 other drives or 3 other drives. So what I probably need to do, it's working, I'll be damned. What I probably want to do though is shut down this unit and go with a single hard drive in here. Alright, so click on next, install now. Do 2022 next. Alright, so it sees it as drive 0, so I'm going to do next. I'm just going to leave it in the hands of the installer and see what happens. Like, oh my god, there it goes. Well, we'll see if it starts copying files to the install drive. Yep, there it goes. Alright, so we'll let it run. Alright, so here we go. We have some success. It installed. So let's see if we can actually create a super secret password here. And hopefully we put it in there correctly. Finish. We can probably exit the virtual media now, and it looks like, wow, success. Let's see if we can log in here and start doing the updates. Alright, should bring up Server Manager. So it's interesting that Microsoft is interested in, now this is in no way saying that Microsoft says, oh yeah, go out and buy Server 2022 and it'll work on these 12-year-old IBM servers. No, it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the underlying operating system changes very little from version to version. Whereas under VMware, going from 6 point whatever to 7, it was a huge change in the underlying core of the operating system. That's where Microsoft has the edge, because it's Windows. It'll pretty much run on anything. even on old hardware. And depending on your circumstances and what roles that server is going to be doing, you know, you don't need that much power, to be honest with you. Now, if you're running a database server, or you're running, you know, something that's doing a lot of calculations, yeah, you need it. But as you can see, pretty much out of the box, let's go to Device Manager. Actually, let's do it the proper way. Right click here and go to Device Manager. And let's see what it's done. Yeah, there's a generic IPMI compliance device it can't find a driver for. But other than that, yeah, it sees everything. And this is what I love about Windows. It's kind of working out of the box, you know? Even sees the Toshiba hard drive. So, yeah, it's good. It's a good thing. So let me go out to the Ethernet controllers. Okay, because what I don't want to do, this is an IBM USB remote NDIS network device, and we're not going to need that. So I'm going to disable all these network adapters because I'm not using them right now. See, no command line. And we'll rename this Gigabit 1-1. And I wonder what IP address I want to give this server. So I think we're going to use 5.11. Let's just make sure here. Do a command prompt. And let's make sure that that IP address is not being used for something else. And it doesn't appear to be. So we'll set this for 192.168.5.11. We'll set our gateway and our DNS server. Refresh. Let's go to status, details. 5.11. Okay. Let's come here. Let's refresh. Perfect. Ethernet 5. We're going to click on there and we're going to disable. So we don't need that one. Cool. Now, one thing I wanted to see is this disk controller. Let's go to Device Manager. And let's go to Storage Controller. Good. It sees that it is a SAS2 2008 Falcon controller. So it is seeing it as a SAS controller. Now, the next thing I want to do is come here to my time zone and change that to Central Time. And then the next thing I'm going to do is rename this server. I'll come up here and then go to change, and we're going to call this IBM X3650-M3. It's the only one I have, so click on OK, and then of course we're going to need to restart. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to join the domain, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Alright, so lunch is out of the way, and I've rebooted the machine after renaming it. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add it to the Unky Joe's Playhouse domain. And then we're going to enable remote desktop as well, so that I can get into this unit from my network without having to go through this IMM module with IBM. And then the next step after that is going to be to put a video card in this thing and see if it'll boot up still properly with a video card in there. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here to Workgroup. Click on that, click on change, and we're going to join the UJP.local. And then we'll enter the name with domain privileges, or privileges that can add computers and users to the domain. And it's going to make us reboot again. And then we should be able to enable remote desktop. Actually, I can restart later. I'm going to go ahead and enable remote desktop as well. And tell it OK and apply. And then we'll reboot. Alright, so we rebooted now. So now let's see if we can actually log in to the domain. Yep, it sees it there. So let's enter our domain username and password. Now at this point, I think, if memory serves me correct, this IBM has problems when, and it's not a problem, it's actually part of the design, is when you put another video card in here, you lose the video capability on the IMM module, and I would rather have that capability on the module than to lose it because I want to put a video card in here. This machine will be, I mean, it's got lots of cores and lots of RAM. Well, let's see. We'll see here once it pops up. Server Manager is going to pop up. And then we're going to close that. And then we're going to try to log in here remotely once we verify that that part of that is working. So we'll go over here to local servers. So there's the name of it. There's the domain. Should pop up here in a second. Good. And it's turned the firewall off. That's fine. And it's enabled remote desktop. And it's at IP 5.11. It knows it's on an IBM 3650 Model 3. It's got 60 gig of RAM, or I'm sorry, 50 gigabytes of RAM. It's that 300 gig hard drive in there. And it has two E5620 CPUs in here. So let's turn off Server Manager from launching. Let's close Server Manager. Let's go over to Task Manager here. Let's just take a look at how many cores we have, because I don't remember the CPU on this one. Okay, so we got 2 sockets, each with 8 cores, so we got 16 logical processors. So this is a pretty underpowered server. It's only got an E5620. Let me go ahead and see if I can log in remotely to that server. So that is 5.11, I think we said. And we'll do more choices. We'll do UJP /Adama and our super secret password. And let's see how it does. Yes. And there we go, boys and girls. Server 2022 is up. I'm connected via remote desktop. Let's see how it's doing. Performance-wise, it's got plenty of CPUs in there and plenty of RAM. So I'm going to add the Hyper-V service to this IBM X3650, and it'll be interesting to see if it has the same problem I had with Windows Server 2019. Whenever you would add the Hyper-V service and do your reboot, you wouldn't be able to get back on. You'd have to go back in through the IMM adapter, reset the IP address in order for everything to work properly. So we'll find out. I'm going to use Kerberos for the live migration permissions. We'll just leave the default install locations. Click on install. So I'm going to let this run and come back when it's time to change something. So the Hyper-V service has been installed, so I'm going to go ahead and let it reboot, and then I'm going to log back in through this IMM adapter, and then I'm going to probably have to restart again, and then we'll try to log in by remote desktop. We'll see if the IP address on this has changed, so I'll come back when that screen shows something different. Alright, so let me try to log on here through the IMM adapter. Enter my super secret password. La da dee dee, la da da da. Alright, we'll see if it wants to reboot again. A lot of times it'll come up after that install of Hyper-V and say I need to reboot one more time. Now I'm going to go ahead and start Server Manager, even though I told it not to start. In this case, I want to see if that old bug rears its... Well, I call it a bug. It's actually an annoyance, and see if it changes the IP address again. And it looks like it has. Yeah, see, IPv4 address assigned by DHCP. So, we're going to come into here, and the first thing we're going to do is shorten the name of this NIC card, because it really annoys me. So we'll rename it. It'll be gigabit 1-1-vert for virtual. Okay. That'll help. And then come back here to properties. And we have to manually put our IP address back in. Yep. And it's going to blow away our gateway again, I bet you. So 192.168.5.11. Oh, that didn't work very well. Wow. Again, let's try it again. 192, yes. 168.5.11. And it fills in the subnet. Don't worry about the gateway, because as soon as we save it, 5.1 is our internal DNS. Because as soon as we OK it here and OK it there, it's going to change it again. So we'll come back in one more time, and you'll see it should have lost the gateway, and it did. 254 is the gateway. Click OK. Click OK. Then let's refresh this screen. And then I should be able to get back in remotely. So let's try that. And bingo, here we go. And there we go, back up and running. So now what I need to do is get the, so now we've got Hyper-V running. I can go ahead and close Server Manager. I'm also going to run Ninite on here to get some applications installed, so we might as well do that now. And I'm going to go ahead and put Chrome on here. We've already got Edge, so we should be good on there. I want to do WinSCP, PuTTY. I put all my normal utilities on here just in case I need them. We're going to go ahead and put Handbrake on there because I like to run. I like to use Handbrake as a good way to work out the processors on these older servers. We're going to put 7-zip. And we'll go ahead and open it. Let it install. And I like to put my little task manager up here so I can see. I mean, I paid for all those cores. I want to see them working. Know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, you know, VMware is great. XCP is great. Citrix XCP is great. Proxmox is great. But I just keep running back to Windows because the machine is so much more flexible when it's running Windows. I can run Linux on here if I need to, but I'd rather run Linux in a virtual machine than let it control the hardware. I like the interface of Windows. Come up under Windows Administrative Tools, and let's see, we want to do Hyper-V Manager, and we want to do, let's see, the iSCSI initiator, and let's see what else on this. The rest I can get to through other ways. So yeah, we'll just put Hyper-V manager here, and ISK is the initiator here, and then we've got our nanites installed. So let's see if we can go ahead and customize the taskbar. I want to use small icons and only combine when the taskbar is full. I don't need the task view. Let's see, hidden, good, toolbars, good. Now we'll go to Windows Update and we'll start doing the updates. So as you can see, I've got quite a few pending updates. So I'm going to go ahead and click on install now and let these run, and we'll come back when all the updates are done.
So that surprisingly went very well. Now, one of the problems I ran into though, and I'm not real fond of the RAID controllers that IBM uses. The way they configure the RAID on these LSI controllers is a little kludgy at best, and it's hard to get through the interface if you've never used it. So, and I don't use hardware RAID. Very few people do anymore. And I wanted to be able to use storage spaces with these drives. So I had an LSI controller lying around that happened to be flashed into IT mode, so that it just basically passes through the devices to the computer. And I put that into that unit, and I was able to create some storage spaces on those SAS drives I had in that unit. So next, I decided I wanted to try to put a video card back into that unit. Now keep in mind, I've had video cards in here before. In fact, this is one of the video cards I put in there. I was going to use this NVIDIA Quadro card that I've had about a year now. It's a Quadro K2000. You know, it's only a 75 watt card, so it'll go in a server with a limited power supplies without, you notice it doesn't have any of the little power connectors. Now I've had this in that server before in conjunction with the GTX 650, and I ran them in VMware, and I passed them through to Windows virtual machines, and everything was fine. But I just like having a video card even in a server operating system. It just gives me a little more flexibility. For example, mainly if I want to like have something to run a handbrake for a video through or something like that. Something that requires a little more oomph than the CPUs can deliver, especially these CPUs. So I put this card in, and it's nothing special. Now keep in mind, on this IBM, when you add another video card, you have to actually have this video card plugged into a monitor, and you lose the ability to use the video on your IMM adapter. So you have to keep that in mind. One of the things I don't like. But it booted up into Server 2022. I downloaded the drivers for this for Windows 10 because they're on a Windows Server drivers. Loaded them, but I noticed it loaded the drivers and didn't give any error messages, but I couldn't see this card under Task Manager when I brought it up, nor could Handbrake see the card to encode video in H.264 using the hardware encoder on there. So I'm sure it's a driver issue. Windows Server 2022 is just so new, and frankly they're not going to do much to update the drivers on this little card to make it work. So it was a success in loading Windows Server 2022, and don't get me wrong, Windows Server 2022 ran great, because that's just Windows. They're always backwards compatible. I mean, look, we're looking at 12-year-old hardware here, still able to run Windows on it as my core operating system, and then I can run anything else I want to on top of it using Hyper-V. But I couldn't get the video card to work. Sad. So, going down the rabbit hole again, just so you know what I did, I went ahead and loaded Windows Server 2019 back on to this monster IBM X3650 Model 3. Put the video card in, loaded the drivers. Windows Task Manager was able to see the card and the drivers, no problems, easy peasy. Went to use Handbrake. I was able to tell Handbrake to encode using a hardware H.264 encoder, and started encoding a video, a 33 gigabyte video, Blu-ray, down to 1080p using using MKV and H.264. And it got about a third of the way through, and the server crashed. And the server has been crashing ever since then, whether I put it through handbrake, or I let it sit for 10 or 15 minutes or something. So I have a feeling that something is going on with this IBM. So I'm going to have to, I put it aside for now. I've done this video on it, just kind of like a proof of concept. But I'm having to put the IBM aside till I have some more time to look into it. I'm hoping, I've got another system board just in case this one is bad. But this may be a sign from the internet beings, the internet gods, that it's time to retire that X3650 Model 3. It's been a good server, but it is a little loud compared to the Dell. This video card will get some use in another server. So we're going to set the IBM aside for now. And we're going to hope in the future I can repair the thing or see what's causing it to reboot all the time. So there you go, folks. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Please hit the like button. Leave your comments down in the comments section. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that notification bell to be notified of any new videos when they come out. Donate if you're so inclined. We accept PayPal, Patreon, and the YouTube join functions right underneath every one of my videos. So if you feel like you want to support the channel, that's one way of doing it. Thanks for coming to see us, and please don't forget, we'll see all of you on the other side.